Wisp Sports Radio, the voice of women in sport.
Hello and welcome to the Horse Show here on Wisp Sports. This is Season 5, Episode 4, and I'm Chris Stafford. And if you're a new listener, please do join us on social media at Wisp Sports, where you can leave your comments, questions and suggestions for guests. And you can also reach us via email to info@wispsports.com. My guest this week is British eventer Mare King. Now, those of you who follow the sport of eventing will know that Mare has represented Great Britain now on 6 Olympic Games from 1992 to 2012. She won Team Silver in 2004 and 2012 and Team Bronze in 2008. At the World Equestrian Games, she won gold medal in 1994 and 2010 and Team Silver in 2006. She's also won 4 team golds and 1 team bronze medal at the European Eventing Championships. Mare is a 4-time British Open champion, and she's also won badminton in 1992 and 2000, as well as Burghley in 1996. And our North American listeners will remember that she won the Rolex Kentucky 4-star 3-day event in 2011, riding her homebred mare, King's Temptress. And it's with some of King's Temptress's progeny that she's still competing, which we'll hear about in just a moment. And I wanted to catch up with Mare now because the last time I spoke to her, she was about to take on a completely different challenge, taking part in the Clipper Round the World Ocean Race. This was leg 3 that she was on from Cape Town to Sydney, which of course took her into the Southern Ocean, one of the most challenging areas of the world to sail in. So we'll hear about that experience and also what else is on her bucket list. Mare, welcome and lovely to catch up with you again. You've been doing quite a lot since we last spoke.
Yes, hi Chris. Yeah, no, it's all been quite an exciting winter, actually.
It was, and doing something completely different in the world of sailing, which we want to hear all about. But I know nobody would forgive me if I didn't start off by asking you about your plans for the season too, what horses you have.
Yes, I've got 4 homebred horses, which I'm going to be competing this year. So I was sort of beginning to sort of do less eventing, whereas this year I was just eventing 2 last year, but I seem to be creeping back up again now. And but I enjoy doing the homebred horses. I do it very much on my own, which is just bliss after all the years of having owners and that sort of thing, to just ride my own homebred horses. They live out in the fields all the time, well rugged up and covered in mud, and I just clean the mud off when I need to for a show, but ride them on a daily basis with looking quite muddy, but they are very happy. They look really well, actually. And the season's starting in the beginning of March, so not so long away.
Yeah, almost here, and it sounds a little bit like Pony Club days, getting them up and scraping the mud off them to get the saddle on. And
that's right, it is a bit like that, but they're born to be bred to live out in the fields, and I think a lot of horses are stabled much too much, and it's amazing how well they can do with such great rugs. I'm sponsored by Bucas, and they do beautiful rugs of different, thicknesses and, lovely, so that their horses can stay warm even if it is, pretty horrible weather. You can, rug them up well enough that they're perfectly comfortable. Although they're clipped, I leave their legs on and the front of their face on and ears on, the hair, so that, and then they have necks, so they're all covered, and they keep perfectly warm enough.
Yeah. Now, when you said they were homebred, of course, you've been breeding for a very long time, Mare. So tell us a little bit about the breeding program that you have now and the horses that you have that you're going to be riding.
Yes, well, it's really dear King's Temptress, on whom I won Rolex. When was it? 2011. I won with her, and was such a good mare because while she was competing, I did embryo transfers with her. And since she's been retired, she's allowed to have her own babies. And yes, she's pregnant at the minute. And, she's getting older. She's 20 this year, so I don't know how long she'll go on breeding for. But gosh, she doesn't owe me anything because this will be her 7th foal that she's had this coming year. And, also had a very successful eventing career. So, yeah, what a good girl.
And so what are the names of the horses that you're riding so we can look out for them?
Yeah, I've got King Robert, who is an advanced horse. He's done 4-star shorts successfully, and now I'm going to do a 4-star long this spring with him, maybe Ballandenesque or Bramham. And then, qualify him for 5-star level. And, yeah, we'll see how he, if he steps up that extra step to be a 5-star horse. We'll see. He's a very sweet, easy, quiet. He's a little bit quiet, really. You wish he'd be sometimes a little bit more fiery, but he's a sweetheart and very easy to do and knows his job well now. So he's out of King's Temptress by chilly morning, so he's got very good breeding. But he was an embryo transfer foal, and his surrogate mother was a very quiet mare. And it's definitely, I feel that they do get something from their surrogate mother, as in, maybe it's that first 6 months living with them, walking slowly around the field with a quiet mare makes them, because he shouldn't really be quite as quiet as he is. But anyway, he's a good boy. So, yeah, so he's advanced. I've got his full sister, who's just 6 years old. She's really smart. And then 2 5-year-olds, which are... again, both Tess, King's Temptress, again, so all of them, all 4 I'm eventing this year. King's Temptress is their mother. And then, yes, Future Gravitas is the stallion of one of the 5-year-olds, and Kevin Z is the one of the other one. So, yeah, all good.
Yeah, so obviously you're enjoying it as much as ever, but do you find you're still as competitive as ever, or do you go out there just to bring on these youngsters, the homebred stock, and the satisfaction that you get from that? Or do you want to win?
Yes, I know I don't ride as well as I used to. I've had obviously odd falls, and I've got a bit of a funny neck that prevents me from... My balance isn't as good as it used to be, so I don't ride as quick as I used to. But then saying that, maybe, I'm on horses that aren't as quick. I still feel sort of brave and quite happy to gallop forward to fences. I haven't gone too hooky. So I keep telling Emily, my daughter, if she thinks I ought to give up, she must tell me if I'm looking awful. But she hasn't told me yet, so...
Are you competitive with her, or does she motivate you in any way these days? I wonder if she wasn't in the sport, would you still be as keen as you are?
Yes, I think I would, to be honest. I mean, she lives away from home, so we only meet up occasionally at some events. But no, it's very nice to beat her. I enjoy when it happens, but obviously it all depends what horses you're on. But I still would love to ride at a major event, at Badminton or Burghley, alongside Emily, as a mother-daughter thing. That would be the dream, to do that before I retire, as long as I beat her, that is.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you see a point where you will hang up your boots, at least competing?
Oh, yes, it will happen one day, but I do enjoy doing it. So when I stop enjoying it, I'll stop. But I feel I might as well keep going while I'm enjoying it still. Yeah.
Well, meanwhile, when you're not riding horses, you're making the most of the other things that you wanted to do when you were eventing full on, and that's your love for sailing.
That's right. Yes, it was sort of something that's been on my bucket list, is to, to learn more about sailing and to sail around the world. Actually, is what's on my bucket list, and also to race across an ocean. And that's what I've been doing this winter. During the summer, I had 4 weeks compulsory training, learning about ocean racing, and then took part in leg 3 of the Clipper Around the World race, and that's the Southern Ocean, which is the most arduous leg, so I went for that one. And it worked well with the eventing anyway, as time-wise, because it was November, December. And yes, I flew out to Cape Town, went and taught at Stellenbosch Riding Club for a couple of days to earn a bit of money and pay for my flight and that sort of thing, and then joined the boat, and then we had sort of 4 days prepping for the race, and then off we raced, and it was 24 days at sea, sailing into the depths of the Southern Ocean, and through the roaring 40s to Australia. So it was absolutely brilliant. Loved it, but I did love getting to the other end and lying. The best thing was when we got off the boat and having a shower, because you don't wash. There isn't enough fresh water to be washing ourselves, so you don't wash for 24 days, just use wet wipes occasionally. And then, so having a shower.
You all smelt the same then?
Yes, and it's incredible how, with the great thermal underwear, armour that they do these days, like, in fact, Ariat, my horsey sponsor, I used all their fantastic winter apparel, which, they've got all this thermal kit, which is merino wool, and merino wool doesn't smell, so it's lovely, yeah. It was a great experience.
I'm sure it was, and there's lots of bits to that I'd like to hear more about. But let's just back up a little bit, because anyone listening to that sounds, well, how did you get accepted to be part of that crew, not being a professional or even a full-time amateur, if you will? I mean, with the experience that you had, what was the process of applying and being accepted? What were the qualifications?
Yes, well, it's quite a unique company in a way that they encourage you to sail around the world, to sign up for the race. Even they say you needn't have even stepped on the boat before to be able to sort of take part. But there is the interview process, which they very much, I think, more interview you for not for your sailing experience, but for the type of person you are, because that's what's incredibly important, is that the crew will get on when you're living in, uncomfortable, difficult conditions, and you're being sort of pushed to your sort of maximum as far as, uncomfortableness and, all the watches getting up in the middle of the night and damp things and cold and all this sort of thing. Anyway, so you must be the right type of person to be able to get on with the rest of the crew. So I think that's their main interview process, is working out what sort of person you are. And then if you get through that bit, you do these 4 weeks compulsory training, of which each level you have to pass level 1 before you're allowed to go on to level 2. So some people have to repeat a level before they can move on to the next level. And yes, during those 4 weeks you learn how to, be part of a racing crew. And it was lovely to learn a different sport, and then to experience, the real thing.
How far had you sailed before this then, Mary?
Well, I did one ocean crossing. I'd sailed across the Atlantic 2 winters ago, but that was delivering a friend's catamaran. There was 5 of us, sailed across to Antigua from Tenerife, and so that was my first crossing an ocean, and absolutely loved it, but it was totally different from what I've just done, because it wasn't racing. There's a difference between sailing across an ocean and racing, where you're pushing your boat to its maximum all the time. If you're not tacking or jibing or changing sails, you're trimming sails, getting the boat to go as quick as it possibly can. So I still would love to. So I feel I've done the Atlantic, now I've done the Southern Ocean, I need to do the Pacific. But I think rather than race across the Pacific, I would rather sail across it and visit a few places on the way.
Yeah, take your time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
With the Clipper race, though, Mary, you talked about the watch roster. I know with the Volvo Ocean race, there's a 4-hour watch roster system there. What was the time frame for you guys?
Yes, we did 4 hours on, 4 hours off during the night, and then we did one 6 hours on, 6 hours off in the daytime, and that seemed to work very well. Yeah, and then you hot bunked with the opposite crew member, so you went when you woke up, you rolled up your bed, your sleeping bag, and laid down the other your crew member's bed, and that's how it worked.
Yeah, and now what about the food? Because I know, again, with the Volvo Ocean race, which we follow closely here, they have to endure freeze-dried food for the duration. But did you have to?
Yes, no, we didn't. We ate jolly well, actually. Because eating's the meals are pretty important. Well, they become something you really look forward to, and it's a break in the sort of routine is to then go and have a meal. And but no, we had enough food. We had obviously fresh food initially for the first sort of week, and then as we started to run out of fresh, went on to more sort of tinned and packeted things. But no, we had we ate pretty well actually, and we baked bread every day because you can't take enough bread for all the crew for 24 days. So whereas it's quite easy to bake bread on the boat, so we always bake bread. We even did cakes, and I iced the cake at 2:00 one morning. We were really heeling in the roaring 40s, huge seas, and I was down below icing this birthday cake for this chap. He was so impressed the next day when he saw I cut a corner out of a polythene bag and made some sort of butter icing, and then put a bit of Ribena to make some of the icing pink, and put a bit of chocolate powder to make some of the icing brown, and had some Smarties, and I managed to make a pretty cool looking cake. Actually, I was well impressed, and he was very impressed, knowing how huge the seas were at the time, and literally we were at 45 degrees, and I had one foot up on the sort of walls, on the bulkhead, as you call it, and, trying to balance and ice this cake.
Yeah, well, that's quite something, and it sounds like you ate well compared to, as I said, the other offshore racing, because the weight is so critical, I know, with the Volvo race, that it was all about the weight, wasn't it? So that's not an issue then on the Clipper.
No, I suppose it's more, it's at the end of the day, it's amateur racing. It's not, professional. We're all amateur sailors who've, learnt sort of what we're meant to do racing, but it's still not, it wouldn't be like the real racing sort of thing. I suppose it was sort of in between the two, really.
Well, it's still required a certain set of skills and grit and determination, and obviously seaworthiness too. What did it teach you?
What did it teach me? Well, I don't know. I mean, I knew what to expect. I had sailed before as a younger person on the tall ships, had done a couple of voyages, so I knew all about the sort of watch system, and it was I knew the seas would be big because, I knew that's what made me choose that leg, the roaring 40s, but it was just incredible. The roaring is the noise, the wind as you go on deck, and there was snow in the air. We were down to 45 degrees where the icebergs can start, and so bitterly cold, and you have to wear all your thermals and your dry suits, and you go on deck, you have to clip on before you exit the hatch, because as soon as you're on deck, the waves come over the deck, so if you aren't clipped on, you're going to get swept into the sea. But it was just, I just loved experiencing it. And, although I sort of fairly knew what I was going to expect, but you asked me the question, what did it teach me? I don't know, really, except...
about yourself. I'm just wondering about, what it taught you about your own character. And, because, you're a mature, experienced professional sportswoman, but this is a different sport.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, that's right. But, I suppose we're used to tough times with eventing, so I think, I was compared to some of the crew members who you could see struggled a bit or, got tired, even though they'd, got their fitness sort of, prepared for the crossing and weren't used, we're used to mud and rain and cold in eventing and that sort of thing. So I think it fairly prepares you for ocean racing, really, being an event rider, to be honest, although it's totally different. But then there's a lot of, the uncomfortable, it is uncomfortable. There's no two ways about it. You're not comfy by any means, but, I think, as I say, you're sort of fairly prepared by what we have to go through with the eventing.
Well, for sure. But, you mentioned those high seas because you were down and wanted to be in the Southern Ocean. And again, my reference is the Volvo race, and they talk about that being the most challenging and the most scary. I mean, even for these professional sailors, there's a risk element, obviously, but it presents challenges that can be life-threatening. But did that faze you at all?
Well, no, it did. Some of the crew got scared, but no, I didn't, because it's a bit like eventing. Again, when you're galloping around a great big 5-star cross-country, anything could happen. And I think I had the attitude that, well, you're there, there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to do your best, sail the boat your best you can. If something awful happens, well, so be it. But it's, I suppose it's my attitude, the way I think, a bit like eventing. When you set off around a great big cross-country course, you're committed to do it, and you get on and do it the best you can. But there's all sorts of things that could go dreadfully wrong, and you just sort of hope they don't. But,
yeah. For sure. How many on the crew, Mary?
There was 18 of us altogether. So, and then we had a skipper as well, skipper and first mate, and then 18 of us. So it was sort of 9 on, 9 sleeping while 9 were sailing the boat. Yeah.
And so, how many men, how many women? What was the ratio?
It was there were 4 women and the rest were men. Yeah, so it's very male sort of dominated crew. But but no, that was all fine. And people from all walks of life, that's what I found fascinating. You had, IT people to doctors to all sorts of people, engineers, or, and different from around the world. They had to be English speaking. You have to be able to speak and understand English. But, there were, we had Swedish, German, Americans, South Africans, French. Yeah, we had quite a mixed crew. And, just some English. Yeah, there was about 6 were English, and then the rest were other nationalities. Yeah, New Zealanders. Yeah, no, it was lovely.
Who was your skipper?
He was called David Hartshorn, and he was a really very nice chap. He was brought in a bit, half after leg 1, because our skipper that we did have, that we were meant to be having, went overboard on leg 1. They managed to get him, but they did a crash jibe and he wasn't clipped on and should have been, which was very bad. And so they had to give him the sack when they arrived in Uruguay. They had to say, sorry, but you can't continue, because they've obviously got to have a skipper that's following all the rules. Otherwise, the crew would start to not clip on if they saw the skipper taking, because it is quite a bore being clipped on and trying to move around the boat, being clipped onto the jack stays. It's quite, sort of makes it really hard work. So anyway, so we had a change of skipper in South America, But yeah, the one then who's and was the skipper was he was lovely. You know, he was insisted we did everything fast and well, and got cross if we didn't, but not that cross, and knew we were all trying our hardest. But no, he was always quite cheerful. Yeah.
Well, I know with the mixed gender teams, even professional and amateur, you have to leave your pride at the door, so to speak, because the toilet facilities are pretty basic, aren't they?
Yes, so that becomes quite an art. Trying to hit the bowl, yeah, because you literally, if you're at 45 degrees and it's rough, there's so much movement, so there's so much, holding yourself as you move round on deck and below the deck. You have to be very careful not to get injured. They had people, our boat, we did have somebody cut their head open quite badly, and then somebody broke their thumb, somebody bent their fingers back. But on the other boats, one boat had 3 people break ribs. The accidents happen because you have to be very, very careful when you're moving around, that you are, really holding on hard to everything that's, to the proper hold handles, and making sure you don't slip and all that. Yep, no easy to get injured.
Absolutely. I hope you came away from that unscathed, though, did you?
Yes, no, I was okay. Yep, didn't have any problems.
And for you then, this was altogether a very positive experience and made you want to go back and do more or find new challenges in the sport.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, no, absolutely. It's fulfilled the ambition of doing an ocean race, and hasn't put me off wanting to sail around the rest of the world in the years to come, so I can complete the circumnavigation in time.
So what would be your biggest takeaways then from the experience?
My biggest takeaways, a huge satisfaction of having sailed. If I look at a map and think I've sailed from there to there, knowing that it was the rough, one of the biggest seas to sail to race across, it was just great to be amongst different people, and you form such strong friendships when you're all working and living together. And you have to work as a team to get the boat to sail well, and so it's all that sort of camaraderie and all good.
I would imagine that. I mean, that's the ultimate team, as you say, the camaraderie that you need to build, that team spirit, and the trust in each other. I mean, that's, I would imagine, critical, because you have developed with people that you didn't know terribly well before you started. You took on this massive, adventure, and knowing that you have to trust others as they had to trust you.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is obviously career number 2 for you. This is obviously career number 2 for you.
Yes, that's right.
And so what next?
Oh, I don't know. Well, let's say I want to sail across another ocean, but I'm going to, I've just decided I need to do a marathon. That's another thing. I don't run very much. I'm not a great runner, but I would love to do the London Marathon next year. So that's something which I might, more than likely will try and aim for and prepare and do a marathon. So that's another thing that I can challenge myself with.
Well, coming from the triathlon of equestrian sport, does triathlon appeal to you?
Well, I'm getting a bit old to do too much, but...
Well, they're age groupers, They're age groupers in
yeah, there is,
triathlon.
Actually, that's true. I've never particularly enjoyed cycling, actually. So it's funny, I don't know why I don't, but yes, it's never, been a great thing of mine. I think I'd rather run than cycle, but I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah, well, this is a big ambition in itself, the London Marathon next, and then we'll see you sailing across the Pacific then in the future.
Well, we hope so. We'll see. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Well, it sounds like you're keeping plenty busy and fit, and you're going to be getting fitter by the sounds of things too, if you're going to be running a marathon. And you're playing tennis as well. Anything else we should know?
No, that's about it at the minute.
It's keeping you busy enough with the horses and obviously keeping fit. Well, congratulations on that achievement in of itself is something special. And as you say, you can put that in your memoirs when you sit down and write your life story one day, Mary.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. It was always great to catch up with you, and we look forward to your next adventure. We'll hear about it. The marathon is when for our calendar?
It is March, so March. But not this year, but next year. So
March 2021. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll circle back then in a year's time and see how that's going.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Mary.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Haley Daniels, and I'm a whitewater canoeist, and I am so proud to be working with WISP as they have elevated the voice of women in sport. We as women need to help each other to continue to break that glass ceiling and to continue to support each other so that we have a future. So I'm extremely proud to be a part of this collective. If you would like to find out more about my sport and how we have triumphed and we are gender equal, you can find me on LinkedIn or on Instagram, Haley Daniels on LinkedIn and Haley Dansky on Instagram. Thank you.
Well, that's certainly some inspiration for us. And I look forward to catching up with Mary again in 2021 as she takes on the London Marathon. Now, you can join in the conversation at any time by following us on social media at Wisp Sports. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to hear your comments, questions, or suggestions for guests or stories that you think we should be covering here at Wisp Sports. And if you like what you hear at Wisp Sports, then do leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. I'll be back in 2 weeks' time for another episode of The Horse Show. Until then, thank you for listening and for helping us turn up the volume on women's sports. Goodbye for now.